Welcome back once again to my channel, Health Architect, the Healer of Life. This is Dr. Shravani, and today's topic is going to be based on various lymph organs, the lymph nodes, lymphatic system of the body, and the various lines of defense. So in the last lecture we studied about the classification of the immune system into two types, the innate immunity and the acquired immunity or adaptive immunity, and various classification of the acquired immunity and various barriers that are involved in the innate immunity. So as we have discussed about the acquired immunity, it is classified into two types further. It is active and passive immunity. So the active immunity is further divided into two types. One is the natural immunity and one is the artificial immunity. Now, what do you mean by natural acquired immunity? Natural acquired immunity is one which you gain in your lifetime. That is, one you're exposed to bacteria, one you're exposed to viruses, your body fights against it. It develops antibodies, it develops activated cells, immune cells. So these cells fight against the antigen, that is the microorganism or the foreign object. So this is the natural immunity one gains through exposure of infection. And on the other hand, artificial acquired immunity is something which a person gets artificially. That is through vaccination. We take BCG vaccine. That is the example of artificial acquired immunity. So now coming to the lymphatic system. What is lymphatic system? There are certain lymph nodes in your body which results in production of these immune cells, that is the B cells, B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. So our immune system is closely tied or is closely connected to the lymphatic system of the body. And these lymphatic system or the lymph nodes, what you call, example of the lymph nodes are tonsils, your adenoids, okay, your other lymph nodes, axillary lymph nodes, and the thymus gland and the appendix. These are the lymphatic system of the body which help in which is tied with the immune system. It results in production of the immune cells, that is the B cells and the T cells. So these are located in certain areas of the body. We'll take one example. A person getting tonsillitis, okay, the swollen tonsils. One gets cold, one gets pharyngitis, that is the throat infection, and it results in swelling of the tonsils. So people will feel that this is a bad sign, and there are certain doctors who remove the tonsils. Okay, they remove the lymph nodes. This is not a proper way of treatment. This is not at all a proper way, because the lymph nodes what you have or the tonsils what you have helps in fighting against the infection or fighting against the pathogen. Once any pathogen encounters your body, it gets filtered and it gets attached to the lymph nodes, that is, for example, the tonsils. And the tonsils are fighting against the infection. They help, the immunity fights against the infection. And if you remove the tonsil, what is the line of defense in your body remaining to fight against the infection? So this is not a proper way. So the tonsils help you in fighting the infection. Similarly, adenoids. Similarly, your thymus gland. Similarly, your appendix. We read in the medical books that appendix does not have any function. But this is not a correct information. It is not mentioned anywhere in the books. But the main function of the appendix is it fights against the infection. It has the immune function. It is the lymphatic system. It is a part of the lymphatic system which helps in fighting the pathogen. It kills a pathogen. So this is one of the functions of the appendix. Today we are going to study about the various lymph organs or the lymph nodes associated with the immune functioning. So there are various lymph nodes such as the tonsils, the adenoids, spleen, thymus gland and appendix. So these lymph nodes are located at various sites of your body, and the functions of the lymph nodes or the lymphatic system is to filter out the waste products or the toxins from the body, and also it is associated with your immune functioning. That is, it helps to filter out the pathogens out of your body. So now coming to the definition of the lymphoid organs. What do you mean by lymphoid organs? Lymphoid organs is that particular part of the body where the maturation, the lymphocytes, that is the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes, these get matured into activated T lymphocytes and activated B lymphocytes. What happens is the immature lymphocytes, they are produced in primary lymphoid organs such as the bone marrow and the thymus gland. So the B lymphocyte, which is responsible for producing humoral immunity, and the T lymphocyte, which is responsible for giving you cell-mediated immunity, these lymphocytes are matured in the primary lymphoid organs, that is the bone marrow and the thymus gland respectively. So these lymphoid organs result in maturation and proliferation of the immature lymphocytes. So these lymphocytes are matured in the thymus gland and the bone marrow, which are, these two are called as the primary lymphoid organs. So after these two lymphocytes are matured in the primary lymphoid organs, then they migrate to the secondary lymphoid organs. Now, which are the secondary lymphoid organs? The secondary lymphoid organs are tonsils, the Peyer's patches of the small intestine, that is, certain patches are located in the small intestines. So these are responsible for helping the action of the B and the T lymphocytes. So we'll be studying about this in detail later. So tonsils, the Peyer's patches in the small intestine, the lymph nodes, the appendix, etc. These are called as the secondary lymphoid organs. Spleen is also a part of the secondary lymphoid organ, which helps the B lymphocytes to function in an appropriate manner. The bone marrow is the primary or the main important lymphoid organs where all the blood cells as well as the lymphocytes are developed and matured. The thymus gland is the gland which is present near the heart and beneath the breastbone. So this gland is large in size at the time of birth, but as the age grows, the thymus gland decreases in size. So at the time of puberty, the thymus gland becomes very small in size. So this thymus gland is responsible for production, development and maturation of the T lymphocytes. So the lymph nodes contain lymphocytes that in turn help in maintaining your immune function or helping to kill the pathogens or the microorganisms entering your body. So there are various lymph nodes such as tonsils, adenoids, spleen that have various functions. So what does this lymph nodes do is it traps the microorganisms that enter your body, and thus it results in activations of various lymphocytes that are present in the lymph nodes, which in turn help in destruction of the pathogens or the antigens. As we have discussed in a previous lecture, we have discussed in detail what is the primary response of the acquired immunity and what is the secondary response. So what we'll discuss in brief about this in this lecture. So the acquired immunity, the division of the acquired immunity. Okay, so once the pathogen enters the body, your immunity fights against the infection, or it fights against the encountering pathogen entering your body. So this results in the primary response, and this response is lower in intensity, that is, it is not that strong. But after the first encountering of the pathogen, the immune system gains a memory to the similar type of organism. So next time, on the subsequent encountering of the pathogen inside your body, it develops a memory, and this is called as the secondary response, so that the immunity fights with a greater intensity to the similar organism. So it develops a memory to it. The primary and the secondary response with respect to pathogen. So who helps in these responses? Who are those objects or the proteins in your body that help to fight against this pathogen, or helps in maintaining your immune function, or helps in primary or secondary responses? There are two types of lymphocytes, that is T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. So B lymphocytes produce certain proteins called as antibodies, which help to fight against the pathogens, and the immunity that is offered by the B lymphocytes is called as humoral immunity, because the antibodies are found in the blood. So the term is humoral immunity that is offered by the B lymphocytes. Whereas the T lymphocytes, the immunity that is offered by the T lymphocyte is cell-mediated immunity. And these T lymphocytes in turn produce various activated T cells, that is the cytotoxic T cells, the helper T cells, memory T cells, etc. So now we'll study about what is lymph nodes and how do they function, or how do they contribute in maintaining your immune system, or how they help to fight against the infection. So lymph nodes are certain organs located in certain areas of your body. For example, your axillary lymph nodes, your inguinal lymph nodes, your primary lymphoid organs, your secondary lymphoid organs. So the location of these lymph nodes in various areas of your body. So the function of the lymph node is to filter out various toxic, harmful substances out of your body, entering your bloodstream or entering your body. Your tonsils, your adenoids, these are the lymph organs which help in production of the lymphocytes, help to trap the microorganisms, bacteria, and help to fight against the infection. So the lymph nodes, they have a particular function to maintain immune system. So that's why we have said in the previous lecture too, that removal of the lymph nodes is not a solution to any problem. If you remove the lymph nodes, your immunity will get suppressed. If you remove the tonsils because of recurrent infection in the tonsils, if you remove it out, it will give you a temporary relief, but it will in turn or in future decrease your immune system or the functioning of your immune system that is responsible to fight against the infection. So the function of the lymph node is not only in the immune system, but also it helps to filter out the various toxins that is produced in your body. The cervical lymph nodes, the inguinal lymph nodes, the lymphoid organs, spleen. Spleen has various functions in your body. It helps to produce the lymphoids. Also the lymph nodes that are located in the axilla, they help in filtering out the various toxins or the pathogens or the cells that are infected by the pathogens. It helps to filter out from your body. The lymph nodes contain macrophages that help to digest the cell debris or the pathogens. So the tonsils or the removal of the tonsils, tonsillectomy, the procedure what is called, it is usually performed by the surgeons in cases of recurrent tonsillitis, that is the tonsils get swollen They result in dysphagia, that is difficulty in swallowing, inflammation of the pharynx or the throat, or cases of fever. So the infection in the tonsils, that is tonsillitis. So in this case, what the surgeons do is they remove the tonsils out in order to avoid recurrent tonsillitis, or in order to treat obstructive sleep apnea, which is a sleeping disorder, or to reduce the middle ear infection. So in these three cases, the tonsillectomy procedure is performed. So the tonsillectomy is performed in case of recurrent tonsillitis, in case of middle ear infection, in case of obstructive sleep apnea. But it will give you a temporary solution to your problems. But the main problem will arise in your future, or as your age will progress. It will be because of your decreased immune function, because you have removed the entire lymph node. So this lymph node, tonsils is nothing but the lymph nodes which produce lymphocytes which help in fighting against the infection. So if you do tonsillectomy or remove your lymph nodes, what will be remaining in your body to fight against the infections? So this will again hamper your immune system in later life. It will result in various respiratory complaints like your increased upper respiratory infections, because there are no protective measures left in your pharynx that will help you to fight against the infection. So pathogen will directly gain an entry into your body without the first line of defense present in your body. So if you destroy or if you remove out the first line of defense from your body, there is nothing left, no soldiers remaining in your body which will protect you from the microorganisms. So we get pharyngitis, we get throat infection, we get tonsillitis, that is the infection of the tonsils. The main treatment of tonsillitis, what is the main, how you can, people are having difficulty in swallowing. That's why doctors advise for removal of the tonsils, that is the tonsillectomy. But this is not a right way. We can decrease the inflammation occurring in the tonsils with alternative medicines. There are certain homeopathic treatment, there is certain Ayurvedic treatment or the natural treatment at home to decrease the inflammation of the tonsils. So once the inflammation is reduced, the symptoms also little bit decreases and a person will have ease in swallowing. So removal of the tonsil, removal of the diseased part from the body is not the solution. Some organ is affected, some organ has inflammation, some organ is diseased. This doesn't mean just removal of the organ and throwing it away. This is not a natural treatment by the nature. The treatment basically is decreasing the diseased part of the body, decreasing the inflammation, because the organs of the body, every organ of the body has a tendency to fight against the infection. And there is a reason why the organs in the body, every organ in the body has a specific role to play. Without one organ, another organ cannot survive. Removal of the one organ results in some harmful effect in the other. Each organ in the body is interconnected with each other. The function of one organ depends on the other organ, and vice versa. There are certain life-threatening situations. For example, the appendix gets inflamed. There is appendicular abscess formation. So in this case, this is a life-threatening situation. So the appendix has to be removed. There is no other option. You can't be dependent on the alternative medicine all the time. So in case of life-threatening situations, of some severe conditions when the person cannot tolerate, or if it has some life-threatening situations, then better is to remove the organ. So better is to remove the organ, that is the appendicectomy, that is removal of the appendix in case of appendix abscess. But in case of minor ailments, slight swelling of the tonsils or minor infection in the appendix, avoid removal of the appendix. Avoid removal of the tonsil, because these are the organs, these are the lymph nodes or the lymphatic system in your body which helps you to fight against the infection, which helps you to keep you safe from invasion of the foreign body. So removal of your lymphoid system may have negative impact on your immune function, which will not control the infection in your body. It will not control the entry of the pathogens in your body. You will keep on getting recurrent infection because of absence of the lymph nodes. So these lymph nodes play an important role as the first line of your defense of your immune system, which help to fight against the pathogens. Removal of the lymph nodes, the tonsils, adenoids may result in various infections, increased respiratory tract diseases, the upper respiratory tract, the nose. Okay, so pathogens can enter your body through nose or mouth because there is no lymph node, no tonsils present, no adenoids present. So there is no first line defense that is present in your body which can fight against the pathogens, which will result in stimulating the immune response in your body. So it results in various upper respiratory tract diseases, various allergic conditions in your body, various infections such as inner ear infections. So these occur only because of the removal of the lymph nodes that are present, that are part of your immune system. Also, there is a lymphoid tissue lining that is present across your respiratory gastrointestinal tract and your urogenital tract. So this lymphoid tissue has a similar function, that is destruction of your pathogens by trapping them entering your body, and thus it helps in maintaining the immune function of your body. So this lymphoid tissue that is present or located across the lining of your respiratory, gastrointestinal and your urogenital tract is called as MALT, that is mucosal associated lymphoid tissue. So this is MALT, mucosal associated lymphoid tissue. So this MALT or the mucosal associated lymphoid tissue constitutes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue in your entire body. So there are basically three types of lymphocytes: the T lymphocytes, which are matured in the thymus gland, the B lymphocytes, which are matured in the bone marrow, and the natural killer cells. So natural killer cells are a part of innate immunity, whereas T cells and the B cells are the part of adaptive immunity. So as we have discussed, the T lymphocytes help in giving you cell-mediated immunity, whereas the B lymphocytes help to give you humoral immunity. Both the type of cells help in fighting against the infection. So how do they fight against the infection? First is they recognize the antigen or the pathogen entering your body. Then they help to stimulate the immune response to fight against the pathogen. So they secrete, B cells secrete antibodies, and the T cells secrete further many cells, that is the helper cells, cytotoxic or the killer T cells, and various other T cells. We will be discussing about it. So what does these two cells do is they recognize the antigen entering your body first. Then they respond by stimulating your immune response, and then they fight against the encountering pathogen by engulfing it and killing the pathogen, and also engulfing the cells that are infected by the particular type of pathogen. So the B cells, it produces antibodies that help to neutralize the foreign objects, that is the bacteria or the viruses. Whereas the T cells, the helper T cells, it helps to direct the immune response. That is, it does not kill the bacteria or viruses, the helper T cells, but it directs the immune response in a particular direction, or how much other lymphocytes is to be produced. This is determined by the helper T cells. So we have discussed about the function of the helper T cells. So T cells in turn has many other T cells, helper T cells, the memory T cells, cytotoxic T cells, etc. So the helper T cells help to direct the immune response in a particular direction, or it guides the remaining other T cells to function in an appropriate way. Whereas there is cytotoxic T cell which produces certain toxic granules which has enzymes in it which help in destroying the cells that are infected by the pathogens. So following the activation of the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes, after the primary response to that particular type of pathogen in the body, the immunity or the T and the B lymphocytes give you long-lasting immunity or lasting legacy against that particular pathogen. So this gives you a strong, rapid secondary response when the same type of pathogen encounters your body for the second time. So there are certain cells called as the memory cells which remembers the pathogen and the primary response taken by the B and the T cells. So these memory cells get activated during the second invasion from the same particular type of pathogen entering your body. So when the same pathogen enters your body and a certain infection, same type of infection occurs in your body, it gives you a stronger rapid response by the B and the T lymphocytes because of the developed immunity or developed memory to that particular antigen. So the helper T cells does not have any function of killing a pathogen, or it does not help in clearing the cells that are infected by the pathogen. But what it does is, it helps to guide the other T cells or the other lymphocytes in a particular direction. So which immune response is to be performed to that particular pathogen is determined by the helper T cells. So in other words, helper T cells help in both innate as well as acquired immune responses. So what are the cells of the innate immunity? Innate immunity produces certain cells such as the phagocytes. What are the phagocytes? So macrophages, neutrophils, dendritic cells, these are the phagocytes. Also, along with the other leukocytes, the innate immunity cells are also based on certain killer functions such as the natural killer cells, the mast cells, the eosinophils, the basophils. So these all are the cells of the innate immunity. Now coming to the lines of defense of the immune system. So there are certain boundaries or certain levels at which the immune system fights. Okay. For example, we'll take the example of a palace. Okay. What do you see once you enter the palace? Enemies enter the palace. Okay, from the front. So first is the first level soldiers outside the gate. Okay, that is, let's consider them as first level of defense of immune system. Your immune system is functioning in three steps. First is the soldiers which are standing outside the gate of the palace. Then coming to the main gate of the palace, that is the second line of immunity. Okay, so the gate is second line of immunity. Third is, once you enter inside the palace, you will see soldiers inside the gate. So that is the third level of immunity. So the third line of defense is the soldiers inside the gate. So immunity is what? The first line in the body also. The first line of defense is your skin. Okay, the skin of your body, the tears through the lacrimal glands, the saliva. Saliva also has antimicrobial properties. The saliva, the tears, the mucous membrane, the nasal mucous membrane, the vaginal secretions, and the stomach acid, the hydrochloric acid, which kills the germs, which is located in your stomach. So these are the first lines of defense of the immune system. So the tears, the vaginal secretions, and the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, these three have enzyme called as lysozyme, which kills the microorganisms entering your body. Now coming to the second line of defense. So if the enemy breaks the first line of defense, that is the soldiers, okay, who are outside the gate, okay, if the soldiers are dead, the second line of defense is the gate. Okay, so in our body, the second line of defense is the inflammatory processes or the fever one organism gets. Inflammation is what? Inflammation is redness, swelling, pain, heat. These are the signs of inflammation. Inflammation is a sign it's a sign to show that something is wrong in the body. Even in case of fever, a person gets fever. It is the body's mechanism to kill the microorganisms. We get fever because of the heat, the organisms are killed. So this is the line of defense. This is one of the sign or the symptom of the body, that it shows that the body is reacting to the organisms. So we see many medications which people use just to decrease the fever. If one gets fever for XYZ infection, one takes paracetamol, and what he does is it decreases the fever, even if it is 99, even if it is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Person takes tablet paracetamol and decreases the fever. Is this right? This is not right treatment. Okay, because fever is a sign of the body to show that something is wrong in the body. We don't have to suppress the sign given by the immune system. We have to see what is the main cause why a person has got fever. So we need to destroy that main cause for which the fever has arisen. Fever is one of the immune function which helps you to fight against the infection. If you kill the sign of the immune system, that is a fever, how will your body fight against the infection? Your organisms, the microorganisms are still in your body, which can lead to various other diseases, right? So you don't have to suppress the main signal given by your immune system. You need to find the exact cause. What is the exact cause why the fever has arisen, and take action accordingly. So now once the enemies break the second line of defense, that is, first is the soldiers, second line of defense is the gate of the palace. If the enemies break through the gate of the palace and they enter the third barrier, okay, the third level of palace. So here in immunity, the third level is the body's cells react to the organisms. They react to the antigen, or they react to the enemies entering or encountering the body. So what our immunity in the third line of defense does is, there are immune cells in the body. There are two types of immune cells in the body. One is the B cells or the B lymphocytes, and other is the T cells. Okay, so the immunity given by the B cell is called as humoral immunity. Okay, and the immunity given by the T cells or the T lymphocytes is called as cell mediated immunity. One is the humoral immunity and one is the cell mediated immunity. So what does the body do after it breaks the second level of barrier? The third level of defense of the immune system, what it does is, the B cells produce certain antibodies against the microorganisms, whereas the T cells, they become activated and they give rise to many other T cells, which in turn they destroy the cells that are infected by the bacteria or the viruses. When the enemy, that is the antigen, encounters a healthy cell, the healthy cell also gets infected. So that is no longer needed by the body. So what does this T cell do is they destroy the infected cell. Along with it, the antigen is also destroyed. Whereas the B cells produce antibodies to destroy the foreign body or the antigen.
Now let's study about the appendix. What exactly is the function of appendix in immune system and how its removal, that is appendicectomy, can hamper your immune system. Appendix was usually believed to not having any function in your body. That is, it was considered to be rudimentary, that is, not having any function. But in recent studies, we have understood that appendix is an important component of the mucosal immune system or mucosal immune function, particularly B lymphocyte mediated immune responses and production of the T lymphocytes. This structure helps in proper movement and removal of the waste matter in the digestive system. It contains lymphatic vessels that regulate pathogens and might even produce early defenses that prevent deadly diseases. The appendix is one of the guardians of internal environment of the body from the hostile external environment. The vermiform appendix structurally is highly immunological organ. It has immunological functionality. It is an organ with high content of the lymphoid tissue, with overall structure that resembles that of the rest of the large intestine. Comparable to the large bowel wall, especially the colon, the appendix structure consists of external muscle layer, mucosa and the submucosa. There are certain lymphoid follicles present in the appendix that help in immunological function, fighting the pathogen, fighting the infection. The vermiform appendix consists of macrophages and profusion of immunoglobulin producing plasma cells, that is IgA and IgG, that is immunoglobulin A and immunoglobulin G. Thus it helps in immunological function. The appendix also has a function in case of diarrhea. It is a reservoir which has good bacteria in it. So during diarrhea, what happens is there's flush out of bad bacteria as well as good bacteria. So appendix has a reservoir of the good bacteria which gives rise to a good intestinal health. Appendix is an immune organ that supports the immune process. Appendicectomy could modulate the immune function, influencing the occurrence of the intestinal inflammation. There is a relationship between the appendicectomy and the incidence of the ulcerative colitis. So there is an inverse relationship. If there is appendicectomy of one person, if appendicectomy takes place of one person, it can result in increased risk of ulcerative colitis. So there is inverse relationship in appendicectomy and the incidence of the ulcerative colitis. Appendicectomy may influence the intestinal immune function and it is correlated to intestinal inflammation. The initial event of acute appendicitis is considered to be the interaction between the obstructive lumen of the cecum appendix and the overgrown or invaded bacteria to trigger the innate immunity. Thus, appendix has major role in immunological system or immunological function. So let's study about various organs of the immune system. So as we have discussed, the thymus and the bone marrow are called as the first or the primary lymphoid organs which lead to the production of lymphocytes, B and T lymphocytes, whereas tonsils, adenoids, Peyer's patches are all the secondary lymphoid organs. Secondary lymphoid organs also includes various lymph nodes as shown in the picture. Peyer's patches are also the secondary lymphoid organs. What are Peyer's patches? Peyer's patches are also called as tonsils of the intestines. These patches are found in the wall of the small intestine. They capture and destroy the bacteria that is present inside or the bacteria that encounters the intestine. So, what are tonsils? Tonsils are located in the pharynx, that is the throat. So, these are responsible for protecting yourself from invasion of the pathogen that enters through your upper respiratory tract. If the tonsils are removed or if tonsillectomy takes place, there is no lymph node present in your pharynx which will help you to protect you from bacteria. So the bacteria or the pathogens get easy entry into your upper respiratory tract and leads to various kinds of infection. Also, in case of adenoidectomy, that is removal of the adenoids, it can result in increased risk of upper respiratory diseases or chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. So people who have had the adenoids removed, they have increased chances of infections of the upper respiratory tract as well as increased susceptibility of getting allergic reaction or allergic infection. Next is the spleen. Spleen is also a lymphoid organ which helps in production of the lymphocytes, which help in fighting against the infection, fighting against the bacteria, viruses, and thus is a part of the immune system. And also the appendix, which I have already discussed the function of appendix, how it serves as an important part in immunological function. Now let's study about MALT, that is mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. What is MALT? It is a scattered lymphoid tissue across the mucosal lining in the human body. It is the most extensive component of the human lymphoid tissue. These surfaces protect the body from enormous quantity and variety of antigens. The tonsils, the Peyer's patches within the small intestine, and the vermiform appendix are the examples of MALT. MALT can be categorized into various types depending on its location. First one is GALT, that is gut associated lymphoid tissue. Second is NALT, that is nasal associated lymphoid tissue. Third is BALT, that is bronchus associated lymphoid tissue. And the last one is VALT, that is vulvovaginal associated lymphoid tissue. Additional MALT exists within the accessory organs of the digestive tract, predominantly the parotid gland. So let's study about the first type, that is NALT, nasal associated lymphoid tissue. It includes the immune cells underlying the throat and the nasal passages, and especially the tonsils. The structure is similar to that of the lymph node, but they are not encapsulated and without lymphatics. It consists of follicles composed mainly of B cells surrounded by T cells and the germinal center. Within the follicle is a site of antigen-dependent B cell proliferation. Antigens and foreign particles are trapped within the deep crypts of their lymphoepithelial, from where they are transported to lymphoid follicles. Second type is GALT, that is gut-associated lymphoid tissue. It is composed of lymphoid complexes that consist of specialized epithelium, antigen-presenting cells, and intraepithelial lymphocytes. These structures occur strategically at specific areas in the digestive tract, for example, the Peyer's patches in the terminal ileum. The specialized epithelial cells are present, called as the M cells, which are associated with antigen-presenting cells, which together carry out antigen sampling in the gut. The third type is BALT, that is bronchus-associated lymphoid tissue. The lymphoid tissue here is associated with bronchus, that is structurally similar to the Peyer's patches and other lymphoid tissues in the gut. It is composed mainly of aggregates of lymphocytes organized into follicles that are found in all the lobes of the lungs and along with the main bronchi. The majority of the lymphocytes in the follicles are the B cells. Antigen sampling is carried out by epithelial cells lining the surface of the mucosa and by way of M cells, which transport antigens into underlying APCs and the lymphocytes. MALT, that is MALT tissues, comprises the mucosal immune system, which can function independently of the systemic immune system and are therefore important aspect of immunity. The location of the nasal and the bronchus-associated lymphoid tissue in the airway suggests that they are directly involved in handling of the airborne microbes. So we will be discussing about the various lines of defense of the immune system. So we will be taking one example with regards to the lines of defense. So let's take an example of a palace. There are certain levels of protection or certain levels of boundaries that a palace offers to prevent or to defend itself from the enemies. So let's consider the example of soldiers who are outside the palace. The soldiers are protecting the people of the palace who are inside. So the first level of defense in case of palace is the soldiers outside the palace. So in the immunity, the first level of defense is the skin, the mucus secretions from the respiratory tract, gastrointestinal tract, urogenital tract, the vaginal secretions, the tears from the ears that are produced from the lacrimal glands, the saliva, etc. So all this mechanism of the innate immunity are the first level of defense which every organism will have. So the first level of defense against infection are the surface barriers that prevent the entry of the pathogen into your body. The primary defense against infectious diseases are the surface barriers. These surface barriers include the intact skin that is located externally. It is the largest organ of your body. The mucous membrane, which entraps the bacteria and results in killing of the pathogen or trapping of the pathogens. Both skin and mucous membrane release chemical secretions which restrict the growth of microbes on their surface. If pathogens cannot enter the host body, they cannot disrupt the normal physiological function and cause the disease. So now let's study about the second level of defense. So first level of defense are the soldiers outside the gate. So the first level of defense with respect to immunity are the various external surfaces of your body that prevents the entry of the pathogen inside the body. That is, they are the surface barriers that prevent the entry of the pathogens into your body, various secretions that your body produces to trap the organism. Now let's study about the second line of defense. In case of palace, the second line of defense is the gate of the palace. So once the enemies are successful in destroying the soldiers outside the gate, they approach the gate of the palace. So in case of immune system, the second level of defense are the non-specific phagocytes and other internal mechanisms that comprise innate immunity. The second line of defense against the infection are the non-specific cellular and molecular responses of the innate immune system. For example, various inflammatory responses. What are the signs of inflammation? Pain, swelling, redness, heat. These are all signs of the inflammation. Whenever there is any infection or whenever there is any injury to your body, there is certain inflammation that arises. The inflammation is the second line of defense which occurs or which is produced by your immune system to kill the pathogens, so that the pathogens in that particular situation or condition cannot survive or cannot multiply. So these are the signs of inflammation that make the pathogen defeat and thus prevents the infection or results in settling down of infection. These defenses do not differentiate between different types of pathogen and respond the same way upon every infection. Phagocytic leukocytes migrate to infection sites and engulf the foreign bodies. Inflammatory responses increase the capillary permeability at infected sites, recruiting leukocytes but leading to localized swelling. Antimicrobial proteins such as cytokines and complementary proteins regulate the immune activity within the body. Fever increases the body temperature to activate the heat shock proteins and suppress microbial growth and propagation. So in other words, the gate of the palace is a second line of defense, whereas in case of immunity, the second line of defense is the inflammatory processes, the fever, the inflammation, etc. Now let's study about the last level of defense, that is the third level of defense. So in the palace, once the enemies gain an access to the second level of defense, that is the gate, the enemies enter inside the palace through the gate. So who are there to protect the people or the king inside the palace are the soldiers at the third level of defense in the palace. So inside the gate there are soldiers. So let's consider this example that inside the gate the third level of defense are the soldiers to protect the king, queen and the remaining royal family inside the palace. So in case of immunity, the third line of defense are the specific lymphocytes that are produced by the immune system called as immune cells, that is the B cells and the T cells, or B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes, and these immune cells are a part of adaptive immune response. So once the enemy gets an access to the gate, the third level of protection or the defense are the soldiers who are inside the gate. So in case of immunity, the third level of defense are various immune cells, that is the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes, which help to fight against the pathogens entering your body, which helps them to kill the pathogens, microorganisms, to prevent from infections or to prevent from further infections. So in case of immunity, the third line of defense are various T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, which fight against the pathogens or the microorganisms from preventing them to gain entry into your body, or once if the pathogens enter your body, it helps to fight against the pathogens, thus to kill them and to prevent infection or to result in settlement of the infection. The final line of defense against the infection are the lymphocytes produced by the immune system, which in turn results in production of the antibodies which help in fighting against the pathogens. Each B cell produces a specific antibody, and the body has millions of different B cells capable of detecting distinct antigens. Helper T cells regulate the B cell activation, ensuring that antibodies are only mass produced at appropriate times. Both B and T cells will differentiate to form memory cells after activation, conferring long-term immunity to a particular pathogen. So what we studied in the lines of defense is there are certain levels of protection offered by the immune system, and we have compared the immune system to a palace, to a royal palace, where there are certain lines of protection or boundaries. Thus, immune system have certain lines of defense. If the pathogen enters the entry to any of the level, first level or the second level, at the third level or the last level, there are antibodies produced by the lymphocytes which help to fight against the infection. Once there is balance between the antibodies, or once there is balance in the immune system and the immune cells, one can say that their immunity is functioning in an appropriate manner. Any breakdown in the immunity will lead to various kinds of diseases and infections.
Here we come to an end about the lymphatic system and various immune related cells. So in the next lecture we'll be discussing about what are the components or what are the things that help in increasing your immune system, and what are the things that decreases your immune system. So various factors or various things that will boost up your immune system, and various factors or things that will result in suppression of your immune system, and what you have to do to boost your immune system is going to be the next lecture. So stay tuned for my upcoming latest videos, and if you like my video, please do share with your friends and to your family. Please do subscribe my channel and press the like button. Thank you.